We keep going through various generations of stents, and I tell you, we have an interesting one that is definitely a next-gen item that you should know a little bit more about. The study itself is called the RevElution study, and there is a good reason for that. To talk about it, I'm with Professor Stephen Worthley, who is the chair of cardiovascular medicine and the director of the cardiac cath laboratory at the University of Adelaide in Australia. This is a great topic. Describe this rather interesting stent that you're using.
Well, the RevElution study, as you said, it looks like being a revolution in interventional cardiology, but the reason behind the name is the elution part of it, which is unique. So we know that drug-eluting stents, which have become the mainstay of our treatment of patients with coronary artery disease, have a mechanism for delivering an anti-proliferative drug to the vessel to stop a re-narrowing, a so-called restenosis, by embedding these anti-proliferative drugs in polymers. Polymers are effectively a plastic coat that is around the stent, and when the drug has eluted and gone away, generally speaking, stays behind. These plastics actually induce an inflammation. They're an irritant, if you like, to the vessel wall, and that actually impedes the natural healing, a growing of a skin, so-called endothelium, over the stent. And it's these polymers that have led to the issue around stents not healing as quickly and therefore getting clots on them, so-called stent thrombosis. What this new stent has done has found a way to be able to deliver drug, elute the drug with the same sort of kinetics, so over the same time period as our current drug-eluting stents, but not have a polymer at all. And so that unique way they've done that has been able to core out, if you like, the internal part of the stent. So the stent strut itself is not any thicker. In fact, if anything, it's thinner than a number of the current stents we use. But been able to core out the inner part of it and put drug inside the stent to act as a reservoir, and then drill tiny 20 micron diameter micro holes on the outer surface, the abluminal surface of the stent, so that the drug just slowly elutes through onto the vessel wall and therefore allow the same efficacy so that you don't see any re-narrowing in theory, but there's now no polymer to induce an inflammatory response.
So how many have you looked at so far? How many patients?
Well, so at the moment, the RevElution study has enrolled, as of yesterday, 75 patients. It's a single-arm, observational, first-in-human trial, but multi-centre. So it includes centres heavily in Australia, but also with Singapore and our colleagues in Brazil. And patients at the moment have been enrolled in all of those sites. It is a slightly complicated design in that we've embedded a number of imaging time points in some of the patients so that we can gain some insights from optical coherence tomography, so a very high resolution intravascular imaging technique at early time points, to see if that premise of early healing is in fact seen in the imaging. And indeed, what we are presenting tomorrow here at ACC is the complete data set of all of the patients that have had 1 month OCT imaging. And we've learnt that the concept that we thought we would see, this early healing, is in fact exactly what we did see.
Oh, very nice.
So we're presenting, we had 15 patients in that study. We're presenting that whole 15 patient data set tomorrow. And in fact, I can tell you that we saw healing in effectively 90% of the struts at 1 month already had an endothelial coat or covering over the stent struts. And yet we saw, apart from that healing, we saw very minimal intrusion into the vessel by that healing process. So it wasn't over proliferative. In fact, the actual healing on average was a 60 micron neointima inside the vessel.
OCT has sometimes provided us some surprising images of the bioabsorbable stents. It was a very big surprise, and you weren't really predicting it. In this case, you're seeing exactly what you wanted to see.
It's what we'd hope to see, exactly right. So you never know until you do the trial,
No.
but it basically it confirms what we'd seen in a lot of that early preclinical work, right, that indeed we've seen an early healing at 1 month. We've seen very low neointimal proliferation though. We've seen very little malapposition, so meaning where the stent itself is now not adherent to the vessel wall. So the malapose struts are 1.5%. So that's actually very low. When normal clinical practice, we expect somewhere between 3 to 7% malapose struts. So it's early days, it's 1 month data, but it's the complete 1 month data set on the OCT sub-study, and it's very exciting.
Oh, it is. And I thank you very much for chatting with us, because I do love this. I love the trial name, and I love the whole concept. Yeah. So please let us know when things go in the next few months or year. Come back and talk to us again, please.
We look forward to, well, look, the first 50 patients, which is the 9-month cohort, and that's the primary endpoint of the trial, they were all enrolled before Christmas, and we look forward to presenting that entire primary data set at TCT at the end of this year. So hopefully I look forward to chatting to you then.
We'll chat. Thank you very much. And for the RevElution data and everything else from ACC 2016, please check us out at CardioSource World News and CardioSource World News Interventions.